America, how the South America got the independent. Today, we are going to discuss how the European countries started their expansion of colonies in Asian countries like India, China, and the Japan. Yes, children? Yes. Welcome to the webinar class of TREIS Society. Mary Margaret, PGT Social from NIRMAL. Yes, today's learn understanding about how European established Indonesia, understanding about colonialism in China, understanding about how Japan established their trade in China, understanding about how Asian countries became independent. So these are the learning objectives of this topic. What are the learning objectives, children? Understanding about colonialism in India, understanding about how European established their colonies in Indonesia, understanding about colonialism in China, understanding about how Japan established their trade in China, understanding about how Asian countries became independent. Yes, children, already we have discussed. Vasco da Gama finded out the sea route to India in the year 1498. So he was the Portuguese sailor. So he started sailing and he reached the India in the year 1498. Now the Europeans got a sea route to reach the India for trading. Most of the countries Asia like India, China and Japan were different from Latin American countries. As we had discussed how the Latin American countries, how the Spanish sailor Columbus reached the America and how the European countries established their colonies in the American continent, how they got the independent, as we have completed. Now, today we are going to discuss how these European countries entered into the Asian continent, how they have reached the countries like India, China, and Japan, which were different from Latin American conditions. Why they are different? Because the Asian countries, when we compare with the Latin American countries, they were very densely populated. Is again, they were filled by the prosperous communities. If you see, the conditions were different when we compare from the Latin America to the Asian continent. Why, children? The Asian countries were densely populated, communities were prosperous. They were governed by powerful empire. When the European started finding a sea route and they want to establish their colonies in the Asian countries, the India were ruled by the Mughal emperors. Again, if you see, those emperors are very powerful. They are having the vast armies. They are governed by the powerful armies which had vast armies. European powers tried to attack the Mughal empire, but they defeated. As European powers, so many times they have tried to attack and they tried to control the Mughal emperor in the India, but they were defeated. So most of the countries of Asia like India, China and Japan were different from Latin American countries. Why, children? Because Asian countries were densely populated and they were by prosperous communities. They were governed by powerful empires, had vast armies. European powers tried to attack the Mughal empire, but they defeated. Yes, children? Yes. Last session, how these European established their colonies in South America, Central America and the North America. Yes, how? Why? Because the Spanish sailor who finded out the sea route, what is his name? Columbus. Then the European countries started expanding their colonies in the South America, in the Central America and the North America. Today, we are going to discuss how these European countries entered the India and the China and the Indonesia. Yes, how? How these European countries entered the India, China and the Indonesia. Today, we are going to today we are going to discuss. Yes. European powers were able to establish powers over some important seaports like Goa, from where they control the oceanic trade. Yes. Already we have discussed at that time the the transport system is very less, and they were depend only on the sea route for the trading system. Now European powers were able to establish their trading with the help of the seaports like Goa, from where they control the oceanic trade. Yes, now they have chosen the oceanic trade. Portuguese established a seaborne empire over the Indian Ocean. Yes, Portuguese, when the Vasco da Gama found out the sea route to India, the Portuguese started entering into the India by the help of the Indian Ocean. So they have built a seaborne. All ships traveling from Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Indian Ocean had to pay special tribute to the Portuguese. If they failed, they were attacked and looted. Yes, now the Europeans started entering. The first country the first country who started the trading system in India is the Portuguese. Yes, Portuguese established a seaborne empire over the Indian Ocean. Now they have controlled the sea route. So the remaining countries who want to enter into the India, they have to travel through Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean, but they have to pay some amount of money called as what special tribute to the Portuguese. If any country failed to do, they were attacked and they were looted. The ships were attacked and they were looted. Portuguese control of the sea ended by other European countries like Holland. Yes, Portuguese control of the sea ended by the other European powers like Holland. Yes, European powers were able to establish power over some important seaports. Now they want to expand their colonies. Now they want to enter into the Asian countries. They have chosen the sea route. So to expand their colonies, to increase the trading system, they have started expanding the seaports like Goa, from where they control the oceanic trade. All ships traveling from Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean. The remaining ships which are not from the Portuguese, if they want to enter into the India by crossing the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, or the Indian Ocean, they have to pay some special amount of money to the Portuguese. If they were failed, if they are not paying any amount to the Portuguese, the ships were attacked by the Portuguese government and they were looted. So the end of the Portuguese control over the sea ended by the other European powers like Holland. Yes, children, you are seeing. Yes, now they want to enter into the India. So they have chosen the sea route, Arabian Sea, yes, from here the Indian Ocean or the Bay of Bengal. So from here they have chosen the sea route to enter into the Asian continent, the places like the India and the China and the Japan. Yes, so this is the trading sea route. You are seeing the trading sea route by the European countries started in the Asian continent. Yes, Europe. Yes, from here they have reached the India, and from here they have entered into the China. So this is the trading sea route which established by the European countries. Yes, from Europe they have started and they have chosen the sea route. Yes, they have entered into the India, and again by crossing the Bay of Bengal. Yes, here the China. Yes, they have established some seaborne, nothing but the establishment of the sea ports. Where children? Yes, they have chosen, for example, Mumbai or Goa, Mangalore, Cochin, Tuticorin, and here Chennai and the Vishakhapatnam. So these are the seaports which are chosen by the European countries to enter into the India to expand their colonies and to increase their trading system. So first they have entered as an East India Company. They have entered as a trading company, but after some years they have conquered our India. They have established their colonies. So this is the sea route by crossing the Arabian Ocean, Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal. The trading system is continued by the European colonies. Yes, the East India Company is the countries that are from the east side. So they have named the East India Company. So this is the sea and this is the sea boat. They have by the help of the ships, yes, they transported the goods from our country to their own countries. Yes. See children, they have chosen the Goa, Mumbai, yes, from here Kochi, and from Tamil Nadu Nagapattinam, and here it is Machilipatnam. These are the sea routes which is seaports which are established by the European countries, but they control the first Portuguese country entered, so they have control all the sea route. If any and they want to continue their trading system, they have to pay some special money to the which country children? Portuguese. Yes. Holland and England had set up their own East India companies in the year 1600 to 1602 to trade with the Asian countries. What are the countries, children? What are the European countries? Holland, we can call it as what? Dutch also. Holland and the England had set up their own East India companies in the year 1600 to 1602 to trade with the Asian countries. The companies were keen to purchase produce from Asian countries like cotton and silk textiles, spices, steel, etc. Yes, we have already discussed. The cotton textiles, the silk textiles, spices, and steel are very famous in our India. So these companies want to purchase the products from Asian countries like cotton and silk textiles, spices, and steel, etc. What are the Asian countries, children? India. So from India, they want to purchase cotton, silk textile, spices, steel, etc. So trading port cities of India, Africa, and Indonesia were encouraged. The trading port cities of India, Africa, and Indonesia were encouraged. Europe started objecting to the activities of these companies. As Europe started objecting to the activities of these companies, as the Holland and England had set up their own East India companies in the year 1600 to 1602 to trade with the Asian countries. So these companies were very interested to purchase the cotton, silk, spices, steel from our India. Now the trading port cities were developed in India, Africa, and the Indonesia. Europe started objecting to the activities of these companies. Why children? Why the Europe had objecting the activities of the European countries like Holland and England? Why children? Because buying commodities from India in exchange of precious metals like gold and silver is they were purchasing our products like cotton, silk, spices, steel by the exchange of what precious metals like gold and silver. So the other European countries thought that if we are exchanging the products from India by the precious metals like gold and silver, one day the India will become the rich country. One day the India will become the rich country. The huge accumulation of gold and silver may be in India. The European country may decrease its wealth. So some of the European countries started objecting to the activities of these companies buying commodities from India in exchange of precious metals like gold and silver. If they are continuing if they are continuing the goods purchasing in exchange of gold and silver, what happened? The gold and silver deposits may increase in the India, and their wealth may decreases. Yes. So this is what England, and another European country, this is Netherlands. We can call it as what? Holland. So these two countries started purchasing the products. These European countries started purchasing the products like cotton, silk, spices and steel from our India by exchanging the gold and the silver, by exchanging the gold and the silver. So the other European countries were objecting to the activities of the Netherlands and the England, or the Holland and the England. Europe felt that India will become richer at the cost of the European countries. Yes, if we are continuing the trading system with India by exchanging the gold and the silver, Europe felt that India will become richer at the cost of European countries. The Dutch company conquered lands in the Indonesia. Yes, the Dutch company, they have established their colonies and they have conquered the land in the Indonesia. They pressurized the local people to sell their products at cheaper price to the company. The Dutch company, the Netherlands or the Holland, they have conquered the lands in the Indonesia. So what they have did, they pressurized the local people, is they forced the local people to sell their products at cheaper price or less cost to their company. In the year 1800, the Dutch government established the direct rule over Indonesia because it was in deep crisis. Yes, now the financial condition of the Holland is very weak. Yes, they are experiencing the financial crisis. To overcome those problems, to increase their budget, is to control their expenses. What they have did in the 1800, the Dutch government established direct rule over Indonesia because it was in deep crisis. First, they have entered as a colony. Yes, the Dutch company conquered the lands in the Indonesia, but due to their financial crisis, due to their financial problems, they try to control the Indonesia directly because to increase their financial problems. So they forced the native people to produce like coffee, sugar and the spices. So the Dutch government forced the native people in Indonesia to produce the products like coffee, sugar and the spices. Yes, Europeans felt that India will become richer at the cost of the European countries. But the Dutch company conquered the other land in Indonesia. They pressurized the local people to sell their products at cheaper price to the company. In the year 1800, the Dutch government established their direct colonial rule over Indonesia because it was in deep crisis. So the Dutch government forced the native people of Indonesia to produce like coffee, sugar and the spices. Yes, the Dutch company is have established their direct colonial rule near the Indonesia. Is the Dutch company or the Holland, the Netherlands, they have established their colonies in the Indonesia. The direct rule were started in the year 1800. Why? Because the Dutch government already experiencing the financial crisis. They are in the financial problems. To overcome those problems, so they required the lot of money. So they forced the native people to produce the products like coffee, silk and the tea. They sold them in international market and earned the huge profits. So what they had did, they sold them in international market and earned the huge profits. The Dutch government forced the native peoples to produce the products like coffee, tea. After producing those products, they have sold them in the international market and earned the huge profits to is control their financial problems. Now they are getting the huge profits. Now they can balance their budget. Yes, they can overcome their financial problems in their own country. So they have sold the products in the international market and earned the huge profits. Native people were unable to produce necessary food grains, which result in acute poverty and the famines. Yes, the Dutch government forced the native people in Indonesia, what to produce the products like coffee or the tea, but they were unable to produce the necessary food grains, which result in the acute poverty and the famines. Yes, they were totally controlled by the Dutch government. They are not free to produce the food grains. Is due to the less availability of the food grains, due to the less production of the food grains, which resulted in the acute poverty and the famines. What do you mean by the famine, children? Is the less availability of the food, less availability of the food. This government finally ended the system of forced delivery of products in the 1870s. So other European countries also felt that is the Dutch government is forcing the Indonesian native people to produce the particular products which result in the poverty and the famines. So this government was finally ended the system of forced delivery of products in the year 1870. Dutch government encouraged their capitalists to invest in plantation crops like rubber, pepper or sugarcane. Yes, now the Dutch government encouraged their capitalists who are having the large amount of money, who are the industrialists, who can invest their amount in the plantation crops like rubber, pepper, or the sugarcane. Is the remaining European countries controlled the Dutch government. So the Dutch government finally ended the system of forced delivery of products in the year 1870. So they have followed the another rule. The Dutch government encouraged their capitalists, their rich people, for having the large amount of money to invest in plantation crops like rubber, pepper, or the sugarcane. Dutch introduced coffee, tea, tobacco, and rubber. Dutch introduced coffee, tea, tobacco, and the rubber. So the Dutch company forced the native people of Indonesia to produce the particular products and they have sold them in the internal market and they have earned the huge profit. This lead to the acute poverty and famines in the Indonesia. The government finally ended the system of forcing the delivery of products in the year 1870. The Dutch government encouraged their capitalists to invest the plantation crops like rubber, pepper or sugarcane. Dutch introduced coffee, tea, tobacco and the rubber. They also invested in mining, tin and the petroleum. They also invested in mining, tin and the petroleum. The Dutch government also invested their amount in the mining activities to extract the metals like the tin and the petroleum. To transport these goods, they invested heavily in railways as well as telegraph lines. The Dutch Indonesia produced most of world's supply of quinine and pepper, coconut products, tea and sugar, coffee and the oil. The Dutch Indonesia. Now that there is a direct rule of the Dutch government in Indonesia. So we are calling it as what? The Dutch Indonesia produced most of world's supply of quinine and pepper, coconut products, tea and sugar, coffee and oil. The power of Dutch ended by Japan during Second World War between 1939 to 1945. Indonesia became independent after Second World War. So what children? The Dutch government invested their more amount of money in investing the mining activities like tin and the petroleum. To transport these goods, they invested heavily in railways as well as the telegraph lines. The Dutch Indonesia produced most of world's supply of quinine and pepper, coconut products, tea and sugar, coffee and oil. The power of Dutch ended by the Japan during the Second World War between 1939 to 1945. The power of Dutch ended by the Japan during the Second World War between the 1939 to 1945. Indonesia became independent after Second World War. So children, the Dutch government ended its direct colonial power in the Indonesia by the Japan during the Second World War between the 1939 to 1945. Indonesia became independent after Second World War. China. China was one of the most populated countries of the world and had powerful empire. Yes, children. Now the Dutch government has ended its colonial power in the Indonesia. Now, how the European countries entered into the China? How the European countries entered into the China? China was one of the most populated countries of the world and had what powerful empire? Yes, China is also one of the most populated country in the world and they had very powerful empire. It was further east of India and European could not control it the way they conquered the Latin America or the Indonesia. Now, if you see, the European countries could not control like Latin America or the Indonesia. Chinese realized that it is dangerous to allow European to trade freely in China. They permitted only to trade only in one city with the specific traders. Yes, the Chinese government realized that if the European countries entered and if they started the trading activities in the China, so they may establish their countries and the direct colonial rule may start in the China. So Chinese realized that it is dangerous to allow European to trade freely in China. So China permitted the European countries only to trade only in one city with the specific traders. As the Chinese government gave permission to start the trading activity is limited to only one city with some specific traders. So the China was the most populated countries of the world and had very powerful empire. If the Europeans want to start their colonial power in the China, like Latin America or the Indonesia, it is very difficult. The Chinese realized that it is dangerous to allow European to trade freely in China. They permitted only to trade only in one city with the specific traders. Yes. Now the Europeans entered. They want to establish their trading activities in the China. But the Chinese government has decided that if the Europeans entered, yes, they may start their direct colonial power. So the Chinese government gave permission to the European countries to only one city with the specific traders. With the specific traders. They were not allowed to move and restricted to their quarters only. Yes, the Chinese government gave permission to start trade only in one city with specific traders, the trade quarters only. Chinese silk and pointed out that the Chinese silk and they are having the international market. What are the products, children? The silk and the tea. The silk and tea which is available in China, they are very more profitable. But Chinese not allowed European goods to exchange. So European had to exchange by gold and the silver. Silk and tea are more profitable. The Europeans thought but the Chinese not allowed the European goods. They don't want to exchange the European goods with the Chinese goods and the silver. Already, Europeans know goods by gold and silver. To purchase the gold and the silver will increase in the China. So, Europeans have started using the they were not allowed to move and restricted to their quarters. Silk and tea are more profitable, but Chinese not allowed European goods to exchange. So European had to exchange by gold and the silver. This policy was opposed by the European traders. This policy was opposed by the European traders. So opium had great demand in China, which produced in India. Opium had a great demand in China, which produced in India. Opium is a drug contained. So this had a great demand in China, which produced in India. So now the Europeans doesn't want to exchange by giving the gold and the silver. So the opium had great demand in China, which produced in India. Now the Europeans thought that the opium having the great demand in China, but it is produced in India. This opium was illegally smuggled from India. In return, European purchased silk and tea. Yes, this opium was illegally smuggled from India. Yes, the opium has a great demand in China. Now, the European want to purchase the silk and tea which are more profitable in China. But the Chinese government doesn't want to purchase the European goods. So, the Europeans thought that there is a great demand of opium in China. So, India, which produced the opium, was illegally smuggled into the China. In return, Europeans purchased silk and tea. European purchased silk and tea. Opium smuggling increased. China suspended the European trading. Opium smuggling increased in China, suspended European trading. Yes, the Europeans thought that there is a great demand of opium in China, but it is produced in India. So the Europeans started smuggling illegally opium from India to the China. The opium smuggling increased in China. By this, the Chinese government suspended the European trading. Yes, the people of China, they were started using the drug product like opium, and there were the disturbances in the China. So the China suspended the European trading. This led to opium war fought between China and England in the year 1839 to 1842. Opium war fought between China and England in the year 1839 to 1842. Why we are calling it as the opium war, children? Why? Because the opium was illegally smuggled into the China from India. The Chinese government suspended the European trading. To continue their trading system, they started the war with the China. We are calling it as what? Opium war fought between the China and England in the year 1839 to 1842. England defeated China. Yes, the China government defeated by the England. England imposed unequal treaties on China. Treaty is nothing but an agreement. So the England imposed unequal treaties on China. The England defeated the China. Now they have started imposing the unequal treaties on China. English laws were implemented. In China, the English laws were implemented till 1911, China was under the European. Yes. Till how many years, children? Till 1911, China was under the European. England defeated the China. England imposed the unequal treaties on China. English laws were implemented in the China. Till 1911, China was under the European. Yes, this is the opium, children, which is a drug. So this was illegally transported from our India to the China. So the smuggling has increased. The opium war was start between the England and the China. The England defeated the China. England imposed the unequal treaties on China. Yes, till 1911, the European power has ended in the China. England imposed unequal treaties. China had to pay war indemnity to European. Yes, China had to pay some amount of money to the European. War indemnity to the European. Why? Because the England defeated the China. So in return, the China government has to pay amount to the England. We are calling it as what? War indemnity to European. European laws were applied, not the Chinese laws. Is now the China was defeated in the hands of the England. They were forced to the implement the English laws, not the Chinese laws. Europeans purchased raw materials at low cost. Local industries not developed in China. Not only England, but other European countries like France, Germany, and Russia. Yes, English imposed unequal treaties. China had to pay war indemnity to European. Why? Because the China has defeated in the hands of the European. So European has to pay some amount of money to the England. European laws were applied, not the Chinese laws. European purchased raw materials at low cost. The local industry is not developed in China. Not only England, but other European countries like France, Germany, and Russia also entered into the China. Not only England, but other European countries like France, Germany, and Russia. Chinese government forced European countries to had free trade in specific areas. Now, the Chinese government was forced by the European countries to had free trade in specific areas. China was controlled not only by one country but by several European countries. China was not only controlled by one country like England, but they were controlled by other European countries like France, Germany, and the Russia. Yes, the Russia also started the entering into the China, and they have started their trading activities in the China. European countries had joined with a new power called Japan. Now the European countries like England, France, Russia, they have joined with another new powerful country called Japan. Japan looking for colonies from where it could get cheap materials, which helps in industrialization and the modernization. Now the Japan is looking to establish their colonies where it can get cheap materials, which helps in industrialization and the modernization. European countries had joined with a new power called Japan. Japan is looking for a colony to get the materials at low cost, which helps in development of industries and the modernization. Japan started war with China in the year 1894 to 1895 and forced China to give their territories and pay war damage. Yes, now the war started between the China and the Japan in the year 1894 to 1895, and Japan forced the China to give their territories and pay war damage. European powers and Japan increased their influence in China. European powers and Japan increased their influence in China. China considered as semi-colony and not fully colony of any particular country. Yes, the China doesn't become the direct colony of any other European country, but China is considered as a semi-colony and not fully colony of any particular country. Yes. Yes, Japan is looking for the another colony where it can get the materials at very cheap rate, so which helps in the industrialization and the modernization. They have started their trading system with the China. Yes, let us once again revise the topic. Yes, we have learned how how the European countries established their colonies with the help of the sea route, how they have purchased the products from the India, China, Saudi Arabia, and from South America, from the Latin America, and from the North America. So the Columbus finded out the sea route to the South America and the Central America and the North America. The European powers entered and they have established their colonies, and the South America became independent. Now the European countries want to enter into the Asian continent. European countries want to enter into the Asian continent with the help of the sea route by crossing the Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean, Arabian Ocean. They have entered into the India. With the help of the seaports, they have purchased the products like silk, cotton, spices from India, and the China government did not allow any European country to trade with China, but Chinese government gave a, a specific traders and allowed in only one city. But the Europeans want to expand their trading activities. They founded that opium, a drug which is produced in India, they have illegally transported to the China. The China government has suspended the trading activities of Europe. Now there was a war between the China and the Europe. We are calling it as what? Opium war. And the Japan, which is looking for the another colony, which is looking for the another colony where it can get the cheap materials to increase their industrialization and the modernization. The China became semi-colony of an European colony, but it doesn't become the colony of the European countries. So these are the learning objectives. As we have discussed, understanding about the colonialism in India, understanding about how European established their colonies in Indonesia, understanding about colonialism in China, understanding about how Japan established their trade in China, understanding about how Asian countries became independent. Yes, most of countries of Asia like India, China, and Japan were different from Latin American countries. If you compare the Latin American countries with the Asian countries, they are different. Why? Because India, China, and Japan, they are very densely populated countries having the prosperous peasant communities, and they were governed by the powerful empires having the vast armies. If you see the Asian countries were under the powerful empires having the vast armies, European powers tried to attack the Mughal Empire, but they defeated. When the Europeans started entering into the India, the India is under the control of the Mughal Empire. So many times European powers tried to attack the Mughal Empire, but they defeated. Yes, thank you, children.